Welcome to Get Real with Jack and Cindy, where the stories are polished and the advice isn't trendy. We talk houses, markets, and the life that happens in between. The wins, the screw-ups, and everything unseen.
To stage or not to stage? That is the question we are looking at today. What, too goofy?
Oh, the world is a stage. Oh my God, we could go on and on and on.
All right. Anyway, welcome to our podcast today, Get Real with Jack and Cindy. We do Get Real. I'm Cindy Morrison.
And I'm Jack Wallace. So, yeah, we want to talk about staging because I think there's a lot of misconception about that. And I also think there's a lot of confusion as to exactly what it means to stage your house.
So let's start there.
Yeah.
You're going to put your house on the market. What does it mean to stage? And this
Well,
could
first
mean
of
a
all,
variety of things.
Yeah,
actually.
but first of all, let's just say, I think sometimes we all talk above everyone's head and we think we're so smart. But staging is when you have somebody or you or the client makes their house look the best it can. It's like putting the furniture, the accessories, the artwork together, making the house where it's photograph ready, where it looks the best whenever people walk into the house.
Best foot forward.
Best foot forward.
And it could even be changing out light bulbs to a different color. It could be taking personal items out. Remember, this is not about living in your house, which if you're still living there, yes, you do need to live there. But it's about making it a palette for somebody who walks in,
Right.
that they see the best your house can be, but they can also see themselves in that house.
That's huge, yeah. And removing as much of yourself as you can and putting, decorating is personal, personalizing, and staging is sort of depersonalizing and decluttering so that they can see themselves in there and the general public can see themselves in the house. Yeah, and I think that it's really important whenever we're talking about that is, like we used to talk about curb appeal as being the most important thing with real estate, which of course is still important. Like the outside looking good whenever people drive up is really important. But that used to be more because people didn't see the property very much before like used to. People was just kind of back in that day, your realtor put you in the car and drove you to 5 houses. And when you pulled up, you wanted it to look amazing, right?
Right.
Now people have basically done forensic accounting about the house before they ever get there. I mean,
Pictures, videos, AI enhancement, the list goes on and on.
Absolutely. And so it's screen appeal now. It's screen appeal now. It's not curb appeal that really matters. And what we mean by that is, when I'm looking on my screen, how does everything look? I mean, the outside is kind of important, but really, like, what does the living room look like? The kitchen, the master bedroom, the master bath. And one bad picture can make people go, nope, not looking at it.
And as a seller, you need to be asking your agents as you interview them, what kind of package do you put together? What do your photographs look like? Let me see your brochures and your other listings. Because, I even go through, there was a house that I had recently that the owner was trying to get stuff out. We needed to get it on the market. And there was one room where there's still some stuff in there.
Yeah.
And so I put it through AI and took all that out just so you could see online what the room looks like without a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. So there's also virtual staging, but it is important to realize that we live in a digital age and that, yes, people walking in and how it feels once they get there is hugely important.
Of
so
course.
There's
and smells.
Yeah.
And how it smells.
Gosh. Yeah, and we all have our house. Everyone's house has a smell, whether we believe it or not. We don't smell it because it's our house. I'm sure mine smells like 3 little dogs, but no, it really is important. And I think that staging, and I come from decorating, from design, and so it's really interesting because, like, you have a tendency. I did for years. My career was helping people make their house a diary of their own life. And we've had a number of designers on, decorators, and of course, like, if you have a unicorn house that has been very, very specifically decorated,
right,
going in and putting a white couch in is probably not going to make it look any different.
Right.
There are those ones that buyer, there's a buyer for that, but it's going to be a special buyer. So you're not always trying to, sometimes a house is going to stand on its own. Like there's one right now that's for sale that has like, you walk into the entry and it's all mirrors, and the kitchen is all painted in like this lavender color. And it's been, historically it was done this way many years, and that's what people, whoever buys that house is going to just love that look.
Mm-hmm.
So like going in and trying to tweak that, maybe not such a good idea, or
Right.
maybe like you still declutter it. But we're talking about generally kind of normal houses.
If your house needs paint,
Mhm.
painting might be a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, cleaning your carpets, decluttering, in anything that's attached to your house, drawers, they can open up drawers. Now, I've always said I've never not sold a house because there were boxes in the garage and the closets weren't pristine.
I would love for a garage to be clean, but if there's one room that is going to be stacked up, let it be the garage. And also, I would rather see a garage than a pod parked in the driveway whenever someone pulls up. So, like a garage that's full of stuff, to me is better than a pod in the driveway full of your stuff. Because I've seen people do that where they like just take all the stuff and put it in a pod and then stage the house, and I'm like, you're still pulling up to a pod.
It might look better if you had a side or a back driveway, not a front driveway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
with
not
a
saying
pod.
it's never the
Right.
right thing to do, but in general, like, don't be afraid to use your garage.
I can't see the house if you've got a big pod.
Yeah.
But, so then as agents, when we come in, there are two types of staging. There's staging a house where you're living or there is furniture, and then staging an empty house. Let's
Right.
kind of walk through what that looks like.
Yeah, so I mean, like, and this is where kind of, like, for me, going to my background in both selling real estate and decorating, that it really does come in handy, because I can look at a room and kind of come up with how it's going to look whenever it's photographed, how it's going to look when people walk into it. I really oftentimes have people hire a stager at this point because they are very specialized. So that's very helpful. But if it's their stuff, then, I used to always say whenever I was doing decorating that you need to shop your own boutique first. Like, everyone has like this tendency to think that it's because they've owned it for a while that it's not good anymore. Well, maybe it's good, it's just in the wrong place or used in the wrong way, and you loved it enough to buy it. Now, I'm not saying everything is worth keeping, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be thrown away, but look through the house first and see what you can work with, and then usually what we're doing, honestly, we're usually eliminating more than we're adding to. That's really, decluttering is really what we're normally doing.
Decluttering is huge, and sort of like you said, if you walk into a room and there's a couch right there, we may move the couch to another area so the room can flow. So
Right.
a lot of, it moving around, getting rid of, but also if you have an empty house, should you stage or should you not stage? And staging is not inexpensive.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not. And and it really just depends on the price point, depends on how much time you have. It depends on how well some houses look great empty. And it's a blank canvas. So I think you just have to evaluate that all based on the particular property. Again, that comes back to where your real estate professional comes in handy, because they kind of know. I've also done the house where we photographed a vacant house and then done some virtual staging. So when they're online, and you have to say that it's virtual, but you can show kind of how the house can be used, and then even maybe put those pictures up at the house where people can kind of
I've done that with either a notebook when you walk in where you can see the different rooms staged, or big boards on easels, so you go, oh, I see how this room could be laid out.
Right, yeah. So I think those are some great ways to do it without spending the money, but it is money well spent oftentimes to have a true stager come in and stage the house. Because if you have a house that just is kind of funky in how it's laid out, or people can't picture their things in the house and how they would live in it,
right,
you're really showing people don't have a great imagination, and so you're showing them how they could live in the house.
And I've had that before, where it was a very much I'm trying to think of like a Fadre,
like a heavy country French.
Yeah, country French.
Yeah.
Thank you. So heavy, dark country French, and we staged it. We spent quite a bit of money staging it, but with a lot of light white furniture.
Right, which looks so good.
But it was really hard on the family because they were like, "This is not how we imagined our house." It had all this beautiful, ornate, amazing furniture, but the reason why the stager did it that way is if somebody has not necessarily modern would have gone in there, but transitional pieces.
Right.
It shows how those transitional pieces look, and it brightened everything up. So if somebody wanted to come in and take the dark paint and take it lighter, they had that feel. But it was hard on the family because they were like, this is not the home we lived in, but it is the home that sold fast.
Let me tell you what's been really difficult in my life is that I had to go into many houses by Utica Square and say, we gotta get rid of this wallpaper.
And it's wallpaper
And they
that
go,
you
you
put in.
sold it to me. I'm like, yeah. And 20 years ago, it was amazing. But now, not so much. Now, what's funny is if it was 10 years later now, maybe the wallpaper would be great. Like, it's so funny how it all comes and goes. But for a period, it was really interesting. It's like, I mean, I remember writing one powder room for a client at Charles for their wallpaper. It was Scalamandre, which is a very expensive brand. And I remember thinking, I don't know if I'll ever have this much money to buy a house. Like, it was so expensive to do this powder room. And it was beautiful when we got finished with it. Well, then that was one of the houses that then 20 years later I had the listing and I was like, people hate that wallpaper now. Like, it's just so, like, it is 20 years ago, right?
Right.
Like, so there's just certain things, even though they were fine, they were like, you know what, we enjoyed it, but we moved on. Like, you know, they got 20 years out of it, and that's the thing. You have to kind of be a good sport about the fact that, you know, it was your house and you enjoyed it and you lived in it, but somebody else has to see themselves in it, and you know, a young family coming in and you've been there, you know, things are different and they just want it in a different way.
Well, so. And look at, you know, what the 20s houses looked like versus the 40s houses. Then you go into the 50s and the pink and the blue and the green and the orange and into the 70s. Then, you know, the 80s. Like, you just have to remember it keeps changing every 15, 20 years. And, you know, if you want
Which is fun. I mean, you don't want to be stuck in time. You know?
That's why I would never spend that much on wallpaper, because then if I want to change it later...
I think it's also because, like,
I'm not dissing that. I'm just saying that's not what I would do.
Well, it's sort of funny because there's someone in my office that I'm like, I adore her. She's right in the next office, and she's just bought a house and so she's going to estate sales, and I'm like, oh God, yeah, I remember all that. Like, and I love going with her. It's really fun, but it's also because I like have zero desire to buy any of it. I'm like, I don't know. You go through your phase of your life, and now I'm kind of like, you know, I've done that phase. I'm just not really in that. I mean, I still have my house like wonderful, but it's like I kind of set it and forget it now. Like, I'm just kind of like, it's what I like and I'm done. You know,
and mine
like,
is very
in 5 years and maybe I'll want to change some things, but everything has kind of gotten to be where it's curated. And it's kind of like,
and that's in right now, curated. You know, you don't want it you know, hard and stiff and stuffy. You want more of kind of like we talked about, the Ralph Lauren look is very much back in, and you know, grandma's wall with the plates hanging on it.
But that's even like, I think people always think whenever I would say I had worked for Charles Faudré, you know, it's funny because my style of decorating wasn't really Charles's style. I was much more contemporary, but I mean, I learned balance and structure and symmetry and color combination and all. It's all basically the same. You use it differently. I really do love the kind of Ralph Lauren aesthetic. I love
Charles. To me, that's never gone out.
I loved Charles' aesthetic when Charles did it really well. You know, like he did it really, really well. And I think people forget that a lot of other people started doing that look that weren't good at it.
Sure.
And then it sort of became that was the look, and it was very different and a beautiful, high-end, really well done home. But again, you know, we did a magazine. I was in charge of staging for the magazines whenever we would do, like, not staging, making sure that everything was right and like they got everything done, and I would be with them on the project. And it was really fun, but it was like you spent hours and hours seeing how they move stuff around and they light it, and it's like even that room didn't ever look like that. You know, like it came out in the pictures, but it was beautiful. But like one of the articles was called "The Secret to His Excess."
Oh, interesting.
Not success, but excess, because he had so much stuff everywhere.
Everything had a tassel. It was like it was a store.
But think about how brilliant it was for him. He
Oh,
sold
yeah.
all that stuff, right? Because everything was like, you sell
More
more
is
and more and
better.
more. Yeah. So like for me now at this point in my life, I could not live like that. I mean, like I can't have that much stuff.
Sure.
The minute it starts looking cluttered, I'm like I probably have an issue. But I think that's what you have to remember too. So when I go to your house and we start saying we need to clear the space so people can see the house, clear your stuff so they can mentally focus on the house. Even down to, I know this is really, first of all, I don't think you have to remove every family photo.
No.
I think in Oklahoma, people like seeing a family has lived there. But having lots and lots and lots of photos around your house is distracting. And I will tell you, as an expert who has sold real estate for years and years and years, and I know you will back me up in this, what do people do in a house that has a lot of photos?
They start looking at the people.
Trying to figure out who they know and how they would know them.
And I've had one that walked in and said, I
can't buy
don't
this
like
house.
that person. We got to go now.
Yeah. Or I wouldn't want to go no negotiation because I would be insulting them, or like so many things. But yeah, it can really backfire. Or they're friends with people that went to OU and I went to OSU. I mean, like, it's all kinds of weird things.
Or you see the happy family and you just got a divorce.
Yeah.
They're just
But that's even interesting too. Like, okay, so one thing that I've done in staging in the past too, whenever I've had a single woman who was not single, very long, and having to sell a house because of a divorce settlement, and all of her clothes are all on one side of the closet, and there's no men's clothes on the other side. Now, what I've done in the past was we've put more of the stuff of hers over on the other side, and then brought in a few pieces of men's clothing to put on the other side. More because of that, not trying to pretend that she's married or not pretending that, but more like just so it's not like it's obvious that there was a woman living there alone. That was part of it. But also it does kind of like, you're trying to think about how you can lessen what people are assuming and information that's not theirs to gather.
Because they could be thinking, oh, this is a divorce situation, or her husband passed
water.
away, and now I can get a deal on this.
Yeah,
Very
blood in
good
the
point.
water. So staging can offset blood in the water oftentimes, which is weird. I know that sounds strange to people, but like we have to think about that. Like, what is the strategy of getting this house sold, and what are some things that would, even down to it happens. I had a spouse that died. The other thing people might go, did they divorce, or did someone die, and did they die here? And is that it starts going in a weird spiral. So I just think you have to really be aware of all of that. Like, it's just like suddenly there's one side of the closet is blank and yours is packed.
And these are all of the things that an experienced real estate agent thinks about. And I've had people that just begin to glaze over when I talk about decluttering. Girl, I will meet you over here on Saturday and we'll get started together. We'll do it together.
Are you wanting to move? Because if you are wanting to move, you're going to be packing those boxes.
I call it.
So let's go ahead and know you're going to be moving, because I'm going to get your house sold. So let's pack those boxes that you can get started on, and then you're decluttering your house, and at the same time, we're getting some stuff moved over.
So here's what I call that. We are going to start pre-packing.
Yeah.
It's things you're going to pack anyway. So we're just going to start now.
Well, and then I have people say, well, what if it doesn't sell? I'm like, well, if we're going to start it from that perspective, then we're in trouble. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's basically saying, well, what if it doesn't? I don't want to. Okay, well, then you're not real serious about selling your house, I don't think. So.
Those are the same people who say, I want to ask for top dollar, and if it sells, I'll sell it. Wait, what? That's not really what we do.
Yeah, I just think it's really, and so I think it really comes down to, again, there's so many variations of staging that when people hear staging, I think what they think is someone's going to come in and just furnish my house and make it beautiful. And then, the other thing too is, if you do have someone come and stage your house, get out of the way. Like, if they're a trusted staging person, get out of the way. I've had clients be so ugly and awful to people because the person tried to change the look of their house but that's why we're staging it.
Right.
I mean, you're not hiring a decorator for you to live in that house. You're hiring somebody to make that house sellable and appealing to a general market.
And 9 times out of 10, I will go through and we'll go through every room and I will explain what needs to be staged before we go on the market. 9 times out of 10, there's that 10th person that I know is going to get their feelings hurt, and I'm suddenly going to become the bad guy. So I will bring in a stager or an interior decorator who knows staging.
Sure.
To have them be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because we know we need to get it
expert.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know we need to get it done, but I don't want anybody to have their feelings hurt or think I'm making a judgment on their beautiful home. I'm just trying to do things, we're just trying to do things to get your home sold, which is the goal.
Well, it's like you don't hire a therapist to tell you what you want to hear.
Oh,
you hire a therapist to tell you what you need to hear. So like, you know, and the other side of it too is like, it's, again, good decorating can be bad staging. I mean, it can be great decorating for you, but for staging, it doesn't appeal to most people. So yeah, you have to be really conscious of that. And the other thing too is I just think it's like everybody is so caught up in it being magazine worthy. It's not about that.
Or Instagram worthy.
Because you also you don't want to get it to where it's so beautiful that people don't feel like it's a home that they can live in. So I mean, it's a real thin line between those two, and I think sometimes we get a little carried away of making it like we want to look like the cover of Architectural Digest whenever you're trying to sell a house to a family that's going to live there. Like, you know,
right.
I did have a funny thing though. You do have to have some consciousness of the people that are selling, because I had a woman who was so wonderful, great woman. Oh, I loved her, and we did like a bar cart, and we put, you know, a vodka carafe and blah blah blah, and did this whole thing. And she came in and she goes, "I am so sorry, but we cannot have that in my home." And I go, "Oh, okay, well, what?" She goes, "I go to the Baptist church, and if someone came in and saw that and knows who I am, I can't have that." I was like, "You know what? We'll take that out."
No,
Like,
no problem. No problem.
I mean, so, you know, sometimes you have to be open. Like, there are reasons why people don't want things done a certain way, or, you know, even coffee table books. Maybe you have to be a little conscious of making them very neutral coffee table books for people.
Well, and I've got a house that's going on the market, and I so appreciate this family. Mom is in her 90s. Lovely, lovely, lovely woman. And her kids came in because they knew we were going to stage and get things out. And they literally took notes on every single room. Mom was great with it. You know, she still needs to live there. But it was one of the most beautiful staging experiences, because when I went back over, literally they'd done every single thing. She didn't have to lift a finger. She still felt great about her house. But was like, okay, I get why we moved the couch here and did some of those things.
I think people have this idea that we come in and beat up on them. I mean, I rarely have to beat up on people. Most of the time when people are like, it's good. It's not like their house is beautiful, but it's like, it's just things that you've lived with that you don't notice, or things that are just, you know, it's too much. And, you know, it's even like, we used to always say in design, you want to let the eye rest occasionally. Like, you know, if every wall is just covered. And, you know, some people have lived a really great life, and they have like tons of artwork and memories, and that's great, but not for this.
And if you're a hunter, there, you know, and you have a lot of trophies around, there is.
Boy, that's a controversial one.
That, you know, it's a little different in Oklahoma, but sometimes we have to have that conversation. And if you're not willing to take it down, I want feedback from the people who come through. And if we get much feedback from the agents, they just couldn't do the animal thing, then we have another conversation.
Well, and also like an occasional piece here and there is one thing, but like I've had listings where you walk in and it's literally like all these eyes are staring at you. Like, I mean, it's just kind of terrifying to people. So I think you have to kind of gauge it kind of property to property. And also like, again, you know, if you're in an area, like I have a lot of houses over by Utica Square where there's a lot of people who they hunt as a hobby, and so like that's appealing to a lot of buyers, like to have a room for a trophy room and a hunting storage safe for their guns. I mean, like you have to gauge your market.
Sure.
Too.
Absolutely.
Having that in a real slick condo downtown might not be the best plan.
Right.
Yeah. So again, your agent's going to know the demographics, they're going to know the appeal, the factors that go into that, and that goes into it. So I think more than anything, when someone throws the word staging out, I just want you guys to know that it can mean so many things, and virtual staging is getting really good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the hard part about virtual staging is it can set an expectation that then is very hard to live up to when people walk through your property. So
Great.
you want to not overly stage on those things, make it more just showing how a bed would go in the room, or show how a sofa, like
Where the couch might go and the TV.
some people get so creative that it becomes an art project, and then they don't even recognize the room. Or like you and I've shown you, I was trying to show her how I did in this room, and it kept moving the door. I'm like, no, you cannot move the door just because you want to put a sofa there.
Right.
So like you have to really, that's why it's good to say this is AI generated. So look at those things like, and I always put I typically put the blank room
First,
and then I put the staged by AI room so people can go, this is what the real picture is, and this is what, so if any of that is like off a little bit, they have the reference of the real room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that if you guys have any other questions about staging or ideas in staging, and staging can even be as simple as I have, some flower vases and towels to hang in the bathroom, just so it feels a little warmer. It could even be that small.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anything you can do to make it warmer,
Feel
more
like
charming,
home.
more home,
Mhm.
but at the same time, and this is a hard thing for people too, but like, if you're the person who has 32 shampoo bottles in your shower, could you live with one for a while?
Just one.
Could you live with the razor not staying in the shower? Could the toothbrushes be put up when we have a showing, especially for photos? Because those kind of things that people see, and it makes them feel like they're in someone else's house, and it's just, those are the things people don't think about, and it can be very difficult when you're living in it. And I know that nothing's perfect. Toilet seats down. That's a big one. Toilet seats down. It's cleaner.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff is just, and those are tips that your real estate agent should be giving you.
And you have to remember, not everybody is just like you. I had a client that when she bought a house, she knew she was going to replace every toilet before she ever moved in, every single toilet, because that just was something she couldn't live with. And hey, I respect that. So,
and that's a good point too. Like, we also get into the realm, like, I think having your carpets cleaned, if they're decent at all, is probably sometimes better than having them replaced. Because a lot of people are like, I'm not living with that carpet, no matter if it's brand new or not, because it wasn't mine. And also, like, your dog being on that newer carpet is still carpet that has been used by another person and their dog or their kids. So,
or they don't even want carpet at all. They want to, do all the floors the same. So,
but if it's really bad, it's worth getting it replaced. But I just think in general, it's like sometimes we're too quick to replace instead of get clean,
or at least discount or offer an allowance for carpet. You know if your carpet's nasty or not, right?
Yeah, but I always feel like most of the time people should replace their carpet, because it's like, that is kind of a weird, like, you're living on someone else's.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, if you have any questions about staging, let us know, and thank you so much for tuning in again to season 3.
Thanks for having us in your living room, your car, or wherever you listen to us.
Bye.
Welcome to Get Real with Jack and Cindy, where the stories are polished and the advice isn't trendy. We talk houses, markets, and the life that happens in between. The wins, the screw ups, and everything unseen.